Welcome to Daily Coronavirus-Driven Mind Stuff. My name is George Ortega, and it's April 16th, Thursday, 2020. And so, yeah, there's another show. What I want to talk about today is what happens after this is done. And, you know, like we're in this and we're managing it, we're navigating it, you know, we're using Zoom and different resources, other resources to really to be able to you know, just get through this. We're calling stuff people and all, but you know what people are beginning to think about and worry about is like, all right, so what happens when things go back to normal? And actually, I'm going to address a part of this that doesn't involve most people. It's going to, you know, what I'm most concerned with is the people who've lost their jobs and you know, won't be able to easily get new jobs when this is done. So, yeah, that's what I want to address, because, you know, there's been 25 million unemployment claims. I think it's about 25, you know, over the last 4 weeks or so. And it may climb higher. And, you know, it's like now a lot of those people will be able to get back to work, you know, after this is all done, but a lot won't. And so I want to just like, you know, I mean, like this is supposed to be a show where I'm like talking about my thoughts and all that stuff. But like the kind of person I am is I like to try to make things better. I like to try to figure things out, help figure things out. And, you know, like a lot of us, I mean, like, you know, a lot of us in the world are like this. We like to just, you know, improve things. So like, all right, the idea is what I want to present is, you know, back in the Depression, in the time of the Depression, we a lot of people were out of work also, and the way FDR dealt with it is he created a jobs program. You know, a massive jobs program that I think he spent about 6% of the GDP in 1939 launching this program. Now, to give you some perspective, the recent, you know, third stimulus package that Congress released, whatever, the economic stimulus, was 2.2 trillion, and that was about 10% of our GDP. So, I mean, this coronavirus is exacting a huge toll on us. And, but, you know, we've got to come to the rescue of those workers. And so now, you know, it's interesting how sometimes good things come from things that aren't so good. And so the idea is that in ordinary times, you know, our government, especially under Trump and the Republicans, wouldn't be all that willing to spend money to get people back to work. That's not the way they think, you know, unfortunately, that's not the way they are. But fortunately, I think circumstances are compelling them to do this. You know, these stimulus packages are a perfect example of that. So like, so I'm hoping that that basically it will, you know, they will have to create these programs. And then the question becomes, well, what are we going to train these workers to do? And you want to, there's some like, I don't know, I hope you don't hear the leaf blower out there. So gotta be, well, whatever. All right, anyway, so you want to know something? Excuse me, I'm going to segue from promoting this stuff because, like, you know, I'm tired. I mean, like other days I'd have the energy to do this, but and like last episode, I wasn't pleased with about 6-7 minutes of it, so I cut it out and just like inserted a clip that I did later. And it's because, like, you know, this is supposed to be a video journal. You know, this is supposed to be my chronicling my thoughts and feelings during this very unique time in not just American history, but in world history. So So yeah, and part of that will have to do with my thoughts on what's going on politically, stuff like that. But I want it to be also about my personal life. Like for example, I I haven't been the most social person, in a lot of years. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm different than a lot of people, than most people, or actually a lot of people. This is an age of alienation. This is an age where, like decades ago, people had three, four, five very close friends. Now we're lucky to have one or two. So, but what I've found is, and what I want to talk about, I can't stop promoting stuff, and maybe I should work on this, but and I'm going to work on it in what I'm about to tell you. So basically, like through Meetup, and if you aren't familiar with Meetup, it's like this site where we create events on the internet that bring people together in person. Okay, it's a great tool. I've been doing it for like 10 years. My last two girlfriends I met through Meetup. It was, it's excellent. Um, and and so, like, what's happening now with Zoom is like people are creating Meetup events to, instead of getting together, of course, because we can't in person, through Zoom, we have these meetings. So like, for example, one woman who lives in Manhattan started a Meetup that's a support group. It's like, emotional for people, who are going through emotional issues. Like, I've like, over the years, I've dealt with depression, anxiety, and I basically, I've done a lot of work to overcome a lot of that. With depression, I worked on my happiness. I mean, I researched happiness. I did a happiness TV show. I've run a happiness meetup since I think 2014. I did some events before that. And then with anxiety, I meditate. I'll meditate 3, 4, 5 hours a day if I need to, which is very cool. But anyway, this woman, like, started this group. And what's good about this group for me, but it's good for people, to connect. It's good. It's a good way to socialize, while we're stuck inside and not being able to get together in person. But for me, this group is especially good. And also my happiness, at 8 o'clock tonight, I'm going to be hosting a meetup on happiness. But both in that one and in this other group, what's happening is that, they tend to be somewhat unstructured. It's turning out that we're just like having conversations. And this is great for me because, like, I've led meetups for years and I know how to moderate a discussion. I know how to, like, pique people's interests and keep it moving, and provide information, all that. But I'm not all that good at just like spontaneous conversation. So it's cool. So, like, for example, I was just on my friend's group. Her name is Jennifer. From 5 to 6. And there were about maybe 8 of us there. And we were just talking. And, like, again, I because it was just general. I mean, Jennifer is like, she's training to be a therapist. She's a psych nurse, but she wants to get her doctorate as a practical nurse and be a therapist. So a nurse practitioner rather. So, like, part of her group is like, she asks, how you doing and stuff, like what goals you want to, so that's good. But another part of it, a lot of it today was just free flowing back conversation. And this is not what I'm really good at. But what is really cool is that, like, I'm getting comfortable with just laying back and not having to be involved, not having to say anything, because I think, well, what I'm noticing is, like, people are talking and a lot of times my mind just wanders, like when we're having a discussion, like the kind of groups I generally lead, that doesn't happen too much because it's all very structured. It's very, very focused. But in conversation, things go all over the place. So, like, so I lose focus and stuff. So what I'm trying to say is this group is so good. I'm using it. It's good, so good for me personally. And again, if you find these groups, you'd find that, just it's so good in so many ways, for personalizing. but I'm just finding this is an excellent way to kind of like refine my conversation skills, you know? Absolutely. To just like feel more comfortable, excuse me, and listen more, listen better. Yes. Okay. What else? We got like 17 minutes to go. And again, you know, um, I want this to be kind of like as if, you know, I don't know if people are familiar with psychoanalysis, you know, Freud and whoever was, you know, around back then. They developed this system where, like, you know, a patient, you know, has some problems, psychological problems, goes to a psychoanalyst, lies down on a couch. It's not even, he's not even looking at the therapist, and the therapist is like sitting behind him taking notes, or I don't know. But the idea is what they would call a stream of consciousness, a free association, where, you know, the patient is supposed to just like say whatever is on his mind, not censor it. I mean, like, and that's really hard to do and all. But that's kind of what I want these shows to be about, you know? And like, so this is episode number 5. And I'm hoping that as we, and I'm hoping that we'll get tags soon, because this is another complete show without beginning and ending tags. I mean, that's a big deal, but, you know, whatever. We should have a little tags there, you know. But anyway, that's what I want this show to a certain extent be. You know, the less I censor myself, because we all censor ourselves. You know, like if we're kind of like talking to someone, or if we're presenting something that we know is going to be seen and heard by someone, by people, we just naturally, you know, censor. But the idea here is to kind of like move away from the ego, to just kind of like not be concerned, to just to trust you, and to trust myself that, you know, what I say is going to be fine. And I was just thinking, like, I just took a shower before this, and I was just thinking, like, in the shower, that like, well, you want to know something? I mean, like, maybe 5 people will watch this on White Plains Community Media station, channel 76, or Verizon 45, and then I'll upload it to YouTube, and they'll have it on their site. Maybe, who knows, a few dozen people will see this. Or maybe not, who knows? But that's not the idea. I mean, this is kind of like art. This is kind of like putting something out there that, who knows, maybe in 100 years, they'll be doing some research on how people dealt with this. And so, like, you know, all these videos on YouTube. So, like, you know, they'll come to like exploring, understanding us, you know, relative. This is kind of like information for our collective database of who we are at this time, you know. And more, I mean, for me, it's kind of like, this show, again, was supposed to be titled, initially it was like, talking to ourselves during coronavirus distancing. That was the show, right? That was my intention. But you know, the first episode, the first 5 minutes of the first episode, I realized it was impossible for me to just talk to myself while presenting this show on camera, you know, that I knew was going to be like uploaded and watched on TV and all. So I quickly changed it to this daily coronavirus driven mind stuff, you know, which just freed me from having to do that. And who knows, I may eventually talk to myself on here. I mean, maybe it's just something I have to like get into or something. But yeah, no, some guys playing like soccer outside, you know, and like I'm hearing the ball and stuff, and it's a little distracting, but like I'm not gonna say anything. I mean, the guy's a teenager, and you gotta like feel bad for people in your life, especially kids, you know. I mean, this is such a rough time. So I mean, I closed the window a little bit. Anyway, that was distracting me. So so what else? So yeah, this is kind of like, I may be able to talk to myself. Oh yeah, because what I wanted to say is, like, for example, it's about, you know, in about 12 minutes and 50 seconds, or no, after I got to upload this, but like after I'm done with this, I'm going to take a walk before my 8 o'clock Zoom meeting on happiness. And like what I do when I take walks is I've got my phone that I'm talking into, you know, because it's got a recorder, a voice recorder, and I'm recording these, what I say. but basically I'm just talking to myself. That's the point. And the reason I record it is because it just gives me more motivation. You know, then I upload them to my Google Drive, and who knows? Actually, yeah, then I'll put them on DVDs and just like, you know, a history of what I was thinking, whatever. Um, but anyway, but yeah, so like, you know, I will, it's not, you know, talking to oneself is so beneficial, you know, and I can talk about this. I don't have to talk to myself to be able to like talk about how beneficial this is. When you talk to yourself, your thoughts get clearer and they get stronger. And, you know, cause like think about it right now, you're talking to yourself. It's not like we don't talk to ourselves, but like what I'm referring to is verbally, audibly talking to yourself. Cause like when you're talking to yourself silently, it's like these thought fragments, you know, you might have like, you don't think, most of us don't think like right now for the last 5 minutes, I've been talking in relatively complete sentences, you know, that have some structure, grammatical structure and all. That doesn't really happen when we're, you know, when we're thinking silently. You know, we'll have one thought, it's much more fragmented, it's not as clear, and it's not as powerful, it's not as strong. So, and it's not as organized. So again, that one thing, like in order to, I can't stop, you know, trying to help people, you know, do whatever, you want to be happy, get through. So like, you know, anyway, so what, yes, what, you really got to try this. I'm tired. I am like, but I got good sleep last night. Last night, ordinarily I don't drink, but I had a beer and a half, whatever. They don't sell the cans of beer. I mean, like I'd prefer to drink just one beer, you know, when I occasionally drink, whatever. But you got to drink a beer and a half, you know, unless, because I don't want to get a six pack. If I got a six pack, I'd probably drink more than that. But I don't know. But all right. So it's like 10 minutes, and this is interesting. So like one of the reasons I didn't want to no, that I was hesitant about this is like, you know, people may not be interested in like, you know, what I'm thinking. But again, this is like for me as much as it is for other people. And you know, it'd be great if other people like, because I'd be interested in like, you know, if somebody had a TV show, daily TV show, just coming on there and just talking about whatever, I would totally be interested in that, especially in this time. You know, I may not watch it every day or something, whatever. But yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And I think, you know, to the extent that I don't structure this, that I don't talk about like, you know, clean meat and the need to end factory farming and farming of animals in order to avoid pandemics and, you know, the need to like spend money on providing jobs for people. I mean, I want to do stuff like that because that's important. But to the extent that I do this more spontaneous free association stuff, it's more interesting, I think, for you, and I think it's more productive and interesting for me too. It's more enjoyable. Okay, 9 more minutes, and this is great. So, like, what I'm going to do, so I'll finish this. Then it'll take a little while to encode. You know, it's got to, because on Zoom, what happens is like I'm in a meeting, but there's nobody else in this meeting. It's just like, you know. So then I stop the recording, I end the meeting, then it takes a few minutes to encode, and then I got to upload it to Drive. So anyway, while it's encoding, I'm going to go down and check the mail. I haven't done that today, and see what that's about. And you know, like I live in a building. Oh, I got to talk about this great idea that I had. But you know, anyway, I live in a building, and sometimes I don't know whether I should wear my mask going down to like, you know, get the mail or not. You know, I think maybe I will. You know, I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, here's the idea. This is so cool. I live in a building, and I've lived here forever, you know, and the neighbors are nice. I'm nice, you know, everybody's nice, but we don't really know each other. And if you live in a building, even if you live in a suburb, in a house or something, you get the idea. You know, for example, you live in a suburb 3 houses down. You may know the people, but you've never been into their place. They've never been to yours. This is the kind of alienated society we live in. It sucks in a way. You know, people who live in like small villages, they know each other. They're probably a lot more sane than we are, you know, because this alienation is nuts. So anyway, the idea that I had was like, and I'm going to do this. I'm absolutely going to do this. I was mulling it around in my head, and it just makes so much sense. What I'm going to do is like type out, you know, on a sheet of paper, hi, I've got this idea, how we, and I'm going to say, I'm going to be very honest. I don't know if it's a good idea or not, because like there's a saying that says like, well, high fences make good neighbors. And I think that the intent of that is like, you kind of like want to know your neighbors somewhat, but not too much. You want to keep your privacy. But again, like the alienation that people feel, most people being lucky they have a good friend, you know. So all right, the idea is like I'm going to present, I'm going to say like, in order to help us kind of like, get to know each other through this time, that I'm going to be hosting, let's say Tuesday and Thursday at 7 o'clock or something like that. I got to figure out the days, and I may have to like, because I'm supposed to be doing the happiness group every day at 8, and I think I want to try to get some replacements for me on some of those, because like it's a bit, so like let's say I do, for this building, it'd be like every Tuesday and Thursday. I think it's good, right? And let's say from 7 to 8. Then I'll say on this piece of paper, I will be hosting this Zoom room, and I will put, the Zoom rooms have an ID and a password. And so like, if you want to join us, and we'll see if this works. If it works, then I don't have to host all of them. You guys can host your own. And then I guess like, if this is going to be more organized, well, I should probably wait until that happens, whatever. But I was thinking that like, just say, well, just come to my meetup. When that's the problem with the meetups is like, if I announce it on a meetup, then other people that don't live in the building are going to come. And so I don't know. I wish I had a third kind of like a meetup room, but this may not even work. So like, let me not get ahead of myself. So that's the idea. So, I will host, a Zoom get together from 7 to 8 on Tuesday and Thursday, and see how it goes, see how people, respond. If they respond, then we'll figure out how to communicate to ourselves future meetings and perhaps have other hosts. And I think this is like, I get some really good ideas. I really do. I think this is a good one. So, okay, what else? Got like 4 minutes. And I'm kind of like getting a little comfortable with this, because I'm not as concerned about the quality as I was before. Because again, hardly anybody watches this. I mean, give me a break. It's kind of like delusional to spend too much time on quality of this stuff. But it's fun. It's fun. It gives me like, and during these coronavirus times, we're kind of like struggling. Well, what do you do now? What do you do now? All right, this takes up about an hour of my day, half an hour to do the show, and, about half an hour to like upload it or whatever, just waiting. I got to wait around for it. It's not like I have to do much, but then I have to like, upload it to Drive, and then I got to email the station manager, and I got to email him today, because like, it's on my Drive, but like either like I send them a direct link to each show as I do it, or I sent him a link to that folder that I upload them to, so they're not receiving emails every. I think in the beginning, I'll send them emails, and then we'll switch to, well, I don't have to send you an email every day. You can just look, get into my Drive, check out the folder, see the most recent one. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. That is what I'm going to do, I think. Hard to know what I'm going to do, because like, we can't really predict the future. I mean, like any moment now, this comet, that's been hurtling toward us from some other galaxy or something, well, probably not from the galaxy, from far away, may crash into us, and there may not be a tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So like, you never know. But all right, got 3 minutes left. And I'm glad I got this format. I'm glad, like, I'm not like, well, this is what we should do as a country, and this is what, because that's what my life has been about for like, for decades. And it's not like it's been unproductive, I've promoted happiness, my TV. I mean, like, I'm promoting something. I don't know if you see that sign, it says exploring the illusion of free will. This is so major, and I'll talk about this, not right now, but basically, all right, I'll start it off. Einstein, Freud, Darwin, Newton, Isaac Newton, These are probably the giants in science. You know, I don't think there's anybody else in their league really. These are the four top guys. Um, they all understood that we don't have a free will. We may think that stuff is up to us, but the reality is that everything is a movie. Everything that I'm saying right now was predetermined, preordained from this moment, you know, of creation, from the Big Bang and whatever came before that. That's a cool idea. So like I was promoting that for like 10 years, 3 books, a TV series, 216 episodes, another TV show in Manhattan, screenplay that I wrote, you know, podcasts, over 200 podcasts, you know, it was fun, but like people aren't getting this. I don't get it. You know, like, no, yes, these top giants of science are right. You know, you don't have a free will. You don't, you know, you're not more intelligent than these guys. I'm sorry. That's, you know, they're really bright. So anyway, all right, I'm going back to my like promoting stuff. And I, you know, with the free will stuff, I've given up on it in certain, I mean, I know eventually people are going to get it, but it may take 5 or 10 or 15 years. I didn't realize that. When I first started doing this in 2007, I thought, all right, within a year or two, people are going to get this. It's going to create an amazingly wonderful new world, because it really would. People don't get this now, but whatever. I'm down to like 56 seconds, so I got to end this. All right, so, you know, this is George Ortega for, what's the name of my show? Daily Coronavirus Driven Mind Stuff, saying, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will be doing this as long as I'm fated to do this, because again, I have no idea what I'm fated to do or not. I mean, sometimes it's, you know, whatever, but like, I hope you're, you know, doing well. I hope you're navigating this coronavirus successfully, and, you know, you're staying safe. And I will see you again tomorrow on White Plains Community Media Channel 76, Verizon 45. And that's the show. I got like 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. There we go.